When I've discovered the wonderful Craig Smith took over the chairman role of the National Council of New Zealand Wool Interests, I was most excited because I know this man is not only passionate about wool, but passionate about making something happen. And he joins me now. Good evening, Craig.
Good evening, Sarah, and thank you for having me on your show. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, absolute pleasure is all mine. You spoke to Annette Scott from Farmers Weekly last week, I think it was, and just basically getting an understanding of who you are and your background. But straight away, of course, we'll go into that. But straight away, it's knee deep into where is this missing report of the Wool Working Group. Before we sort of get to know a little bit about you, have you had any progress today?
So, very good question. And the Wool Report has been going around, and we've got to put some context around it. It's been going since 2000 and the end of 2017. It was first initiated by Minister O'Connor. And since then, there's been a lot of working groups. The wool price has gone up, it's gone down. And I would love to be able to say to you right now that I knew when it was going to be released and how the minister was going to release it, but I can't. I have seen the report. I've spoken to people that are on the Wool Working Group around that report, and hopefully tomorrow I might have some more clarity because I had a meeting with MPI today, and they are meeting with the minister tomorrow to figure out how they're going to release and how they're going to portray this report. Now, it's really difficult for me to sit here and tell everyone that there's a golden egg or a silver bullet in there that's going to fix the wool industry. And as I said, I can't tell you what's in it, but let's hopefully that by the industry, as they're doing right now in this really difficult situation, working really well together. And the minister needs to understand that. Instead of throwing bullets at the industry, how about listen to what they've got to say? And so that's all I can say at the moment. But we, as an industry, we can either do three things. We can sit back and not even bother about the report. We can come out and attack it, or we can get in behind it and support the report in whatever shape or form that may be. Now, until we can share that with the industry, it's pretty hard to be able to do that. So all I can do is sit here and wait until we hear from the minister on which way he wants to take that forward.
Okay, you can attack this from quite a few angles, and as you fairly said, number one, why hasn't the industry fixed its own problem, and why is it relying on government to do so?
Yeah, that's a fair enough point. But if we look at that and go, the industry's fault, what does that mean? Okay, does that mean that everyone in the wool industry wants the wool price to go down? No, not at all. We're the other side of that fence. We want to make sure that there's longevity. What am I, 48? I've got another 20 or 30 years. Probably now that with this COVID, I probably won't be able to retire because we'll all be paying taxes and be no retirement, But so we've got to look and say, what did we miss? What has happened? Okay, we know that synthetics have taken over not only our industry, but they've taken over the world as well. Have we missed a beat about educating our consumers, our people, around how good wool is? And yeah, we need to take that on the chin. But we also need the government to stand up and, as I said before, stop throwing bullets at the industry and bombs at it and saying you're splintered, you're fragmented, you're not working, the wool price is terrible. We know that, right? That's not a surprise. That's something that's happened. And we need the government to jump in there straight away and go, right, on the back of this COVID now, right, all these, Minister Hipkins the other day said he's going to spend $160 million fixing school classrooms. Okay, well, that's fantastic. But let's make sure wool goes on the floor of those rooms. Let's go wool into the insulation. Let's go wool furnishings. I know that's not going to fix the problem about where the wool price. It's a start, and at least it shows the government does support wool. And I'm really worried that they don't.
I just don't think this government understand it, but that's a total criticism and an assumption. So it really comes down to what is the role of government in industry and a free market. That's something across the board that I'm talking on this show about a lot. I feel where government can come in is basically gathering people together and forcing them, creating a structure that makes it collaborative and more cohesive. Because, to be fair, Craig, they are right. The wool industry has been extremely fragmented for a long time, with a lot of interests, to the fact that you're chairing them all.
Yeah, I suppose I know kind of what you're saying, and it's a tough one to, unless you're sitting in the wool industry, to kind of understand. Who do we listen to? Do we listen to the wool brokers or the merchants or the exporters, or the farmers look at it and go, "Oh, the exporters are taking all the money," and then the merchants are doing, the private dealers and the brokers are just clipping the ticket. They're just processors and getting the wool from the farm gate ready for sale. And a lot of those, the people that don't understand about the exporter side of things, they fund a lot of this industry right through for a lot longer than people really understand. Once again, we've missed the beat about making people's mind and awareness around, if I need to buy something, can I buy it in wool? Is there an option to buy it in wool? Now, like if we looked at the fine wool sector, you can't compare selling a wool garment to selling a carpet or insulation. Carpet insulation is something we stand on, and something goes on the wall and you never see it. A fashion item you wear around, and it's more emotive. So it's a bit of an easier sell. We've got to get people thinking around. Okay, we look at the Green Party talking about microplastics, carpets, plastic carpets, the rhino carpets. Like when you put those things in the ground, they stay there forever. You put wool carpets in the ground, they're biodegradable. Let's be smarter about the story we're telling. And this is if we looked around where the National Council is, and whether that's the right name for these days, I'm not too sure. And that's something that we're definitely looking at. But I do know one thing, that right now we have every single party in the pipeline sitting under the one umbrella, which is great. And I just had a meeting this morning with those members, the merchants, the exporters, the brokers, the test houses, the scours. I spoke with Ron, who's doing a wonderful work out there at the moment around getting products up and ready for commercialisation. Got the Campaign for Wool that's sitting there, that's educating intermediate schools around, with their shipping their wool containers. They're going in and out of intermediate schools. And so we are, everyone's under the same umbrella now. And so that's why we're sitting there and had the mandate and principle this morning from all those members to work with the minister about this report and how he goes about getting it into the marketplace. And I don't know how he's going to do that. And he's the only one that can tell us.
There's a number of chairmen who have changed throughout the course of the Wool Working Group, Craig. And I admire a lot of the people sitting on the Wool Working Group, know them personally. Yep. That's our worry. How much have you been at the table representing the industry in terms of a strategy document created for your industry?
So you're dead right. There's people on the Wool Working Group that I've got a lot of time and a lot of respect for. And so they were handpicked. It wasn't picked by the industry. It was handpicked by the chairman of the Wool Group, who was appointed by the minister. And so for us, as those people have been, as you can probably put in a roundabout way, working on behalf of the growers, because there's 2 growers on there. There's 2 from the trade, and there's people from industry as well. So my input, apart from the early days back in the end of 17 and 18 until the working group was formed, the initial input, but over probably the last 12 months, to be fair, there's been no input from me directly, no. But in saying that, I came to the position of chair as the chairman before me, by the name John Dawson, sadly passed away at the beginning of the year, and a hell of a great man for the industry. And so I've got big shoes to fill, but one thing I've got is a lot of enthusiasm and asking a lot of questions like you are, and Annette, is around what are we going to do with this report once it comes out? How are we going to basically, because we just can't sit back and throw stones at it, right? Because that's no good for the industry. But if we don't do anything with it, it'll just be another report that was written this year, that was written 2 or 3 years ago by Nathan Guy and his team, and the year before that by David Carter, and going right back to the McKinsey report. We just don't want to write a report just because we had a new Minister of Agriculture, right? So let's do something with this. Let's get in behind it in a way that drives the New Zealand wool industry forward.
Okay. Sorry, Craig. And on that, I mean, I was 100% in support of Sandra Taylor's wool levy, which absolutely got shot down in 2014 unfairly, in my mind. That's back on the table. Potentially. Is the discussion around a wool levy potentially back on the table? Because there's one thing to have a strategy, but to be able to commercialise it and fund it is another.
Yeah, no, you're dead right. At this time and point right now, there obviously needs to be funding, and whether that comes from a levy, we all need to make our industry great again. We all need to pay into that. We all need to take some ownership in it with it, and that includes the growers, the brokers, the exporters, the merchants. Everyone involved in it needs to come up with of some funding around that. But we don't want to just go out and say, right, let's start a wool levy. And the first thing growers will do, or I would do as a grower, say, well, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, but at the same time, you look at how it's worked across a lot of other examples of product as well, because the grower has to have some skin in the game of the product and the development of their own industry and their own business model. We've seen it across red meat. We've even seen it in our own wool industry, Craig.
Correct. So, but what about those red meat industries when they've already got a levy in place as well, and then they've got structures around that? So, look, I'm not against a levy. Don't get me wrong, because I think we need to have that funding in place. And yes, everyone has to have skin in the game to make this thing work. And the biggest thing around this is having awareness of what wool is and how good that is. Now we can take that to the world, but let's do it in a way that we sit beside the likes of beef and lamb, and sit beside them, and like the farm assurance quality program that's out there is now. The wool industry is right behind that, and we want to see that as the standard for all New Zealand wool. So then our growers don't have to do 3 or 4 different audits. We can do the farm assurance program, which sits in beside in beef and lamb. And then beef and lamb had out here, I think it was at the beginning of the year, they had some influencers, whatever they are, but they would head them out here in New Zealand looking at grass-fed beef. Right? Why don't we as a wool industry jump in beside them and piggyback on the back of that, or work alongside them and share that extra story? It's not only the beef that's been grass-fed, it's great out in New Zealand, but look at the wool as well. Look what we're doing environmentally around that, and selling that story as the primary industry Inc. of New Zealand. And so, yes, we've got to fund it, but let's do it in a way that is accountable. Yeah. Because I think in the past, there's been money given away just on commercial basis, not industry good money. And so let's get smarter about that. And I don't want to say we have to wait on this report from the minister, because there's enough energy and excitement within the wool industry right now that I believe that we will do things. Am I saying that the price of wool is going to go up tomorrow? No, I'm not. I'm going to say that we're going to do everything we can to re-educate people about how good wool is, because that's really what we've been missing. Like consumers, want to blame someone, we blame us. We blame us, the consumers, because we go for the cheapest, fast fashion. We want stuff that, and we don't think past that first price point. And so we just have to, we've got an opportunity right now, because everyone's been at home, right? Everyone's been sitting back going, oh, maybe I should think about that. Maybe I should read that. Maybe I should find out about what that means. We've been able to slow down, reset, now let's go. Right?
Absolutely.
Let's get excited.
Oh, I love it. A great way to end. And Craig, this is why I'm excited that you're at the table, because the role of chair is exactly that, is bringing these people together, smashing some heads, getting people to collaborate. We've got so much opportunity to tell a unique New Zealand story across all of our produce, and in particular the one around a carbon neutral product, which is the thing that excites me the most across all micron of wool. Thank you so much, Craig, for taking the time to join us. I'm sure we will continue this conversation across the year, and I think that we should take on board what Craig Smith has said. Let's not beat up and shoot this report when it comes out, and let's actually try and get behind it, because we need to do something about wool. The fact that it's now costing our farmers to take the wool off is an absolute horrible situation. That is, of course, an animal health situation, but it was our absolute pinnacle product that pulled us through a lot of tough times in the past. And wouldn't it be great if we could make wool great again? That's actually quite a good idea. We could put on some wool beanies this winter, Craig.
This is Sarah's Country.